Transition to City Council debate for position number 4. I'd like to invite Ms. Long and Mr. Steiner to the stage. Welcome. Have you both prepared 1-minute intros that you'd like to share? Awesome. We'll start with Ms. Long.
Can you all hear me? Okay, so thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. So I'm Rebecca Long, running for City Council, position number 4. First want to say I love Cheney, obviously. I also love Eastern. Eastern is amazing. And a little bit about me. I'm a double alum from Eastern, computer science. In 2018, I got the Eastern Inspirational Young Alumni Award. I spent 20 years in tech. I currently work as a Director of Software Engineering in Spokane is my office. I get to work from home, and that's where I lead a couple global engineering and software teams, which is very exciting. I love it. Additionally, I'm also the Vice Chair of the Eastern Computer Science and Cybersecurity Professional Advisory Board. I've been doing that for about 7 years. Alternating vice chair and chair, because volunteering, that's how it goes. And why I'm running? I'm running because I believe government should work for the people, should work for all of us. And I believe that it should be easy for people to know how to get involved in what the decisions of the city are doing, and I believe I can help make that a reality.
Steiner?
I'm Timothy Steiner, Tim. I was born and raised in Cheney, so for the last 57 years I've lived here. I graduated high school with Mayor Grover, and I see a couple of my teachers in the audience here. Went to Central Washington University, because I had to get out of town for a little bit. Came back to Eastern Washington University and Spokane Community College. Firefighter with the City of Cheney, both volunteer and paid for 38 years. Just recently retired in July, so I'm enjoying that. I'm going to soon be a business owner in Cheney, so that's kind of exciting. Hopefully it will not be a nonprofit. Why I'm running for council is just to continue my service. My father was a volunteer on the fire department, my oldest brother was, and it's just always been a service thing for me, and so I want to continue that.
Thank you both. Our first question has to do with housing and growth. When evaluating new development proposals, how will you balance the city's water limitations with the need for housing and business growth? Would you support limiting new construction until long-term water reliability is secured?
Great question. Yeah, so Cheney definitely needs to grow. Any city needs to grow. Cities that don't grow die. So it's just a reality of life. One thing that we need to be really mindful, though, as we're planning out that growth is that we don't outgrow our infrastructure. So I think we need to take a really hard and close look at our current infrastructure, and if we do that, we can see that we have a number of areas, specifically around water, that have issues. We have areas that have brown water year-round, it's kind of random, and we have areas that have sediment in their water, we have areas that have low water pressure. We have all these existing problems today. So I think what we need to do as we're planning out this growth is figuring out how do we look at this infrastructure, how do we fix our current water problems so that we can support the current need and also future-proof it so that we can, sustainably grow our city. And I think additionally we need to do things because around our aquifer and protecting our water. We have the Purple Pipe Project, which has been mentioned numbers of times tonight, which is great. It reclaims our wastewater so that we can irrigate our parks. We want to have green parks. That's good for the community too, but it takes a lot of water. So want to make sure that we're supporting that project. Phase 1 should be done, I think, in the spring and just in time to water our parks again. And then I know we need to come up with more creative solutions for water protection and things like that. And we also mentioned some really good things at the start of this around water sustainability and just zero-scaping projects, look for opportunities around those things to protect our water and our infrastructure so that we can grow, and we can grow in a sustainable, mindful way while we're protecting our water for everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Steiner?
Well, the question dealt with, potential moratoriums, and we've had moratoriums in the past for residential and commercial growth. They've been short-term when we've had some situations. But, for the most part, our water problem is going to be greatly helped with the Purple Pipe project. Cheney has 8 wells, and those wells go through cycles of large production, and then that continually through its lifespan it deteriorates until that well has to be rehabilitated. One of the wells is not even usable for potable water. It is that one's currently used to water Sutton Park. So we kind of had a mini Purple Pipe project before the Purple Pipe project. During the winter time, we use about 750 gallons a minute of water, and then during the summertime, during the heavy watering time, that goes up greatly. The Purple Pipe project will take 700 to 1,000 gallons of demand off of that, so it'll get us much closer to our winter use, and that'll help us out a great deal. As far as moratoriums, I would not do a commercial one. A large commercial, if they're going to come into town and be a large water user, they're not going to come into town. They're going to know that it's not a sustainable thing. But we have to have business growth in order to sustain our community and give us good job places for families to have jobs and work. Okay.
All right, thank you. Our second question to Mr. Steiner. City amenities like the new aquatic center are an important part of community life, but they also bring ongoing costs. How should the city approach balancing affordability for residents with the need to sustainably fund and maintain public facilities?
So many years ago, we had we needed big repairs to the old swimming pool, and it was brought to the community, and the community said no. And we shut down that pool and the parks programs for over a year. That was a short-term deal, but when it came back, Parks and Rec was more on a pay-as-you-play basis. It had to sustain itself more than draw from the general fund. Balancing that with we need to utilize some of the situations that we had this summer for the swimming pool. We had a number of community members and businesses come forward and help support free or reduced cost swimming times. The pool was brought to a city council meeting that the cost was somewhat prohibitive for families to come. It is a competitive price for some of the Spokane areas if you're looking at apples and apples and not just a swimming pool versus what we have with our slides and lazy river and all that. Our facilities are getting older in the city. City Hall is over 70 years old and it's had some remodels, but accessibility issues are there. An elevator would be good for getting to the second floor. The police have outgrown their police station from a 30-year-old remodel of a funeral home, and the fire department is 55 years old.
All right, thank you. Ms. Long?
Sure, this is a great question. So public amenities like our pool, like our new pool especially, are really critical and vital for a healthy community, right? Brings people together, lots of benefits. But it's really important that we make sure that everyone is able to access, and utilize these amenities, right? We launched the new pool this year, super cool. I consider this kind of like year zero of the new pool, where you launch any new project, and there's lots of bumps, you learn a lot, right? And that's what we did this year. We learned a lot. Like we tried really hard to make sure that this was a pool that could be utilized and really awesome for our community, and we hit a lot of those marks. And I think what we learned though is that there's lots of things that we can continue to improve on. So I know Cheney Outreach was doing lots of things with like grants to help make sure that we could get some free swimming lessons for families. Parks and Rec was doing really, a lot of work to do the free days, which was great. And then I know the Parks Board was trying really hard to like balance like affordability versus like just the cost of operating the pool, right? So there is some balances in there, and everyone was working with the resources that they had this year, which is what you got to do. I think we can do better, and I think if the city and the city council are helping support these efforts more, that would be, we can take this even further. I know that they're already starting out talks for making this more affordable going forward, but I think, again, we need the city to help. I think one thing that we can be doing is, and I repeat this a lot, we need a grant writer, a dedicated one. Grant writing is hard. I don't know if anyone's written a grant, but they take a lot of work, and there's some skill set that is involved in making sure that those are successful. So if we had someone dedicated to that, we could go a long way, and we might even need a dedicated one just for Parks and Rec, so that they have so many things going on. They support our families, our parks, not just our pool. Making sure that they are supported in these ways, I think will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you both. Eastern Washington University is a major part of Cheney's identity and economy. In what ways can the city and Eastern collaborate to create mutually beneficial partnerships that enhance community life and support local growth? Ms. Long.
Yeah, great. So yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning, I love Eastern, and so anything I can do to help bridge Eastern with the rest of our community, I'm on board with. One of the things I think we could really do better at is increasing our connection points between campus and like our downtown. So what does that look like? We could get better, safer walking paths, safer biking paths. I mean, so students don't need to drive anywhere or take the bus. They can just go freely between the two. I think what we need is, as we're doing our planning for a comprehensive growth plan, at the moment we can work on, building in, baking in things like mixed housing, so that in our downtown, or even through the corridor between campus and downtown, so we can get students, once they graduate from living on campus, they can move into these spaces that are closer to downtown, they're over businesses, they're right in the heart of our local economy. It would be beneficial for our students, plug them into our community, and then it'll be good for our local businesses. So everyone wins when we do stuff like that. Additionally, I think we could use connection points from a career pathing perspective. I think someone, maybe Elsa mentioned it earlier, doing things that can help get students plugged into career opportunities. The city specifically could use interns for lots of things, like grant writing. I know our last grant writer was a student and got us a grant. Awesome, we can do more of that. Let's get more students, get a flow of students in there working on that. I think we can do other things. Students are young and they're hip and they're more up with things like social media, so we could get a student in to help with that kind of stuff, because the city desperately needs a social media presence. Get a student to help with that. Great opportunity, build a resume, get us some stuff done in our city. That would be awesome. I know we also have local businesses that need help with websites, and local organizations that need help with tech things. We have a computer science department. I'm an alum from there. They're always looking for projects and getting people plugged in. I think would be really valuable. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Steiner.
The city and the university are highly dependent on each other. I mean, we would be in great peril if either one of them were weakened. But one of the important things that I've seen in the past, and not necessarily now, but we need to make sure that we have no kingdoms. that the university doesn't say we run things, and the city doesn't say we run things, that the two, coexist. There needs to be work from both sides, and not limiting ourselves to our boundaries. We need to collaborate when it makes sense and have input on each other's planning processes. We're each stakeholders in the other's success. If Eastern wants to grow, it needs the community for housing, it needs the community for utilities, except for water, and other things. Our fire department is provided by the city, our electrical, those types of things. Internships is definitely something that could be looked at for collaboration with the university. I know that the Public Works Department uses a lot of interns in some of the positions, and at the fire department, where most of my experience is, we've used interns the last 3 years from some of the different programs. In fact, we had a program that the city fire department and the university came together and had an emergency medical technician class, which created opportunities for Eastern students to come down and volunteer with the city, get experience working with the city firefighters and such. There's opportunities for other collaborations.
Thank you. Residents have voiced concerns about public safety, city maintenance, and neighborhood upkeep. What priorities or initiatives would you support to ensure Cheney remains a safe, vibrant, and well-maintained community? To Mr. Steiner.
So, vibrance and what we see on the outside, when somebody drives through Cheney, maybe they're coming to tailgate at an Eastern football game and they're from out of town, and maybe they would say, man, what a nice place, this is where I want to be. We need to make sure we have a clean and safe community. A lot of that starts with code enforcement, so we need to make sure that we have, bring back full-time code compliance officers, and work at streamlining the process. Oftentimes, from my experience, it was, a code complaint would be lodged or given to somebody, and it would take weeks and weeks and multiple letters. And some of that we need to try if we can streamline that. Some of that might be state-driven and all that. As far as community safety, last night it was brought forward to the City Council about the fire department receiving a SAFER grant, which is staffing and adequate for fire and emergency response. It's a way for us to jumpstart things through a 3-year process. The city has been granted, it just depends on funding, to get 5 firefighters for 3 years in a stair-stepped responsibility of where the city takes on more and more responsibility for the wages and all that over that 3 years. So that's a way we can kind of catch up as far as public safety. Work on ordinances, limiting unsightly camps and trash buildups. But a lot of it comes with neighbors being good neighbors with the university and making sure we, if you live next to a party house, you communicate.
Thank you. Ms. Long?
Yeah, so this is a great question. A few things come to mind. First off, and I think this was mentioned earlier as well, we've had an interim police chief for years at this point. So getting, making that a permanent role, and so that we have someone in there that can be a stable leader for our police department, I think is really critical, so that shows a sign that we're supporting our police on that front. I also know the police department has a number of budget-approved positions that are open. They're trying to get them filled. So anything the city can do to help make sure that those positions that are budget-approved, get those filled and, bodies in those seats, so to speak, is important. Our staff is, I know we have a lot of overworked police officers, and, risk of burnout is real, right? You have a risk of burnout anytime in any job, and police officers have a lot more stress, I think, than most of our jobs, right? And so making sure that those are filled is really critical. Additionally, I think as a city, we need to look at our budget and see what we can do to make sure that we are properly staffing both police and fire for to meet state code and state recommended staffing levels, and then also just best practices for a city of our size. When we have a university, we have the influx of students. How do we make sure that we can afford to staff for these positions? And just we have the grant, but it's do we want to get the grant for the fire department if we can't fund it past 3 years, right? So figuring all those things out are really critical for the city council to do. And then, of course, as it was mentioned earlier too, the Civil Service Commission is really critical to get reestablished. I know that the city is posted for it now. That helps make sure that we have fair oversight for hiring and firing and promotions within police and fire, which is really critical, right? And we want to make sure that those things are fairly taken care of. And so I think all of those things are the immediate things that come to mind on those topics. Thank you.
Thank you both. Our last question. Not all voices in Cheney, students, renters, or minority communities are equally represented in city discussions, or so they feel. How will you ensure underrepresented residents have real input in city decisions beyond public comment sessions? Ms. Long.
Great question. So I think public comment in city council and our other public meetings is really critical, gets things on the record, that's valuable. However, it's kind of an anticlimactic event. When you go and there's no dialogue, you're basically just speaking and you get an acknowledgement, thank you, and move on. That's really doesn't feel as good as having a real conversation and knowing that you're heard and that they understood you, that the city council and the mayor understood and heard you. So I really believe every voice in our community, students and residents alike, matters, and I think it's really important that they feel that too. So how do we do that? I think meeting residents where they are is really critical. I think city council members and the mayor, we should be holding town halls. We should be doing things to get out there, doing coffee with a council person, things that are just kind of in the community, holding public office hours for, at different times of the day or different days of the week so that people can get there because they can't always make it to council meetings. And as mentioned earlier, our website needs revamping. It's needed revamping for years. So we need to get that done. We need to take care of it. I don't know, we shouldn't let anything hold us back. Social media presence, we need to get on social media. We need to get a digital copy of that newsletter that is sent out. I also don't get that because I have an e-bill. And it should be emailed, it should be available. All of it should be easily accessible on multiple platforms. Nothing should prevent residents from getting this information. I've been campaigning, obviously. Doorbelling, this time I ran 2 years ago. I campaigned and doorbelled then too. I've knocked on thousands of doors in our community at this point. Talking to people, having those face-to-face conversations is critical, and I don't think that should stop at an election. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steiner?
Communication is always a difficult thing, especially in a small town. The free press and the spokesman are not always responsive to press releases and such. So getting information to the citizens is difficult. The website is a great start, and that's going to be a wonderful deal. Social media is a good thing as well, but it's not the answer. The answer is people getting involved, coming to the meetings, viewing meetings on Zoom and such, which all the city council meetings are available. This meeting being streamed on Facebook. As far as voices, to some extent, students and renters are sometimes temporary voices in our community. That doesn't mean that their voices shouldn't be heard, but especially, my opponent is is somebody that came here for college and stayed. One of the other council members, same thing. So their voices are relevant. But, you know, I kind of go back to the Schoolhouse Rock train of thought. You know, we're a melting pot, and so we all need to come together, and everybody's voices are important, but nobody's voice is more important than another's. And what's good for the city is good for all the citizens, or should be the main thought by all city councilmen. And that's why there's a good diverse group of city councilmen with business people, clergy, and et cetera. Okay. Someone get a roll forward.
Thank you both for being here. That concludes this debate. And to the audience, thank you all for being here. This has been a very exciting event. Yes, please applaud them. An item of housekeeping, there was a set of car keys left in the bathroom. If this looks familiar to any of you, please come up and grab them.